To project success to attract investors. That's branding. Your money. That was duty. You don't get a medal for doing what's expected of a daughter. Duty. I looked around my small, dark apartment. I looked at my scarred hands. They thought my $500,000 was a gift. They thought my labor was an obligation. They thought they could take the product I built, sell it for $1 billion, and leave me with nothing but a used lab coat. But they forgot one thing. When you treat the architect like a slave, you shouldn't be surprised when she stops holding up the roof. I pulled out my phone. I didn't call a lawyer. Not yet. I just opened the calendar app and set a notification for 6 days from now. That was the day the first shipment would land in retail stores. That was the day the chemistry would start the countdown that I was no longer being paid to stop. A week later, the wire transfer hit. $100 million. The first tranche. I watched it happen on the news from my laptop in the kitchen. Richard and Brent were standing on a podium, flanking the CEO of Omnifarm. Flashbulbs were popping. Richard looked like a king who had finally reclaimed his throne. Brent looked like a child who had just been handed the keys to a candy store. Innovation, Richard told the reporters, beaming into the camera. That is the legacy of the Vance family. We built this formula from nothing. We poured our souls into it. He didn't mention the grandmother whose money bought the first beaker. He didn't mention the daughter who spent 3 years breathing chemical fumes while he played golf. My phone buzzed on the counter. It was a text from Susan. The closing gala is tonight at the Ritz. Don't bother coming. We don't want you making the investors uncomfortable with your sullen attitude. We'll send you a check for your time eventually. Eventually. I didn't reply. I just swiped the notification away. Then, my screen flickered with a different kind of alert. It was a mass email from the Lumina internal server, one they hadn't scrubbed my personal address from yet. Subject: Urgent. Shipment update from Office of the CEO. Brent Vance. Effective immediately. We are bypassing the final QC hold. The demand is too high to wait for lab coats to tick boxes. Ship the entire stock of 500,000 units to our global retailers now. We need those shelves full by Monday. Also, to the junior chemistry staff. Your services are no longer required. We have the money now. We don't need nerds slowing us down. Security will escort you out. I stared at the screen. He was shipping the batch. The batch that had been sitting in the warehouse for 5 days. The batch that needed the stabilizer added at the 96th hour to prevent the molecular bonds from unraveling. He wasn't just skipping a safety check. He was skipping the chemistry itself. My hand instinctively reached for the phone. It was a reflex, burned into me by 29 years of conditioning. Fix it. Save them. Clean up the mess. I could call the warehouse manager. I could call the Omnifarm transition team. I could scream that they were about to ship 500,000 biological time bombs. I could save their reputation. I could save them from the lawsuit that would inevitably follow. My thumb hovered over the call button, and then I stopped. For my entire life, I had been the safety net. When Brent failed math, I did his homework. When Richard overspent on marketing, I covered the payroll. I had convinced myself that this was love. I thought that if I saved them enough times, eventually,